Hello, welcome to 8.9 News. I'm ffinlo Costain. Today's headlines: a report warns that power wielded by big food is harming the world's most vulnerable people. A Lord's amendment to shut off investment in deforestation has been rejected by UK government. And is seaweed part of sustainable fashion's future? Find out more at 8.9.com. A new report, Pathways to Equitable Food Systems from the Institute of Development Studies, has found that power wielded by big food and other powerful actors is leading to vulnerable groups being disadvantaged by unjust and inequitable food systems. Lidia Cabral is a co-author of the report and a research fellow at the Institute of Development Studies. I asked her about the purpose of the report.
So this report was really attempting to draw attention to the persistence of inequities in world food systems, locally and globally, and discuss ways to address these inequities. And just to clarify that by inequities, we mean those systematic, persistent disadvantages that certain individuals and social groups face, which we argue demand more than small corrective measures, but more systemic interventions. I think it's unacceptable that in 2023, we still have millions of people around the world facing hunger every day and being denied some basic rights for land to grow food. While at the same time, much of the food industry concentrates wealth, damages the environment from production to retailing, and generates an overabundance of food and waste, which is just paradoxical.
And you mentioned there the way in which, these inequities persist and that there are still people in food poverty. But of course, those numbers are ever increasing. And I just wonder if you could tell me who the report is aimed at. Is it for other people within academia, or is it for policymakers, or a combination of the two?
It's a combination of the two. We're particularly keen on influencing policy to drive change. We also want to reach out to practitioners, civil society organizations, social movements who actually are at the forefront of trying to address some of these injustices and promoting conversations between these different actors. So that's what we're aiming to do.
Now, the report assesses ways in which social and economic power imbalances have delivered inequality in the food system. And I wonder if you could tell me, what are the primary ways in which food systems are inequitable?
Let me just start with a concrete example. So taking it to Brazil, which is the context where I usually do my work. Today, Brazil is well known for being a world agri-food power in production, in global trade. It's the #1 exporter of soybean and beef. It's a major international global player. So how come this country still has 33 million people this year in a situation of hunger, a situation that has severely, deteriorated during the pandemic, of course, but also because of mismanagement and just because of policy focusing making the wrong choices. So I think we need to question that and bring those actors to discuss these issues. You should also combine, our report focuses very much on social justice, inequities, but we're also trying to combine with concerns around sustainability. And just to bring you to Brazil again, as an example, Brazil produces cutting-edge technology for sustainable farming, which is very well known for, but it continues to destroy its biome. So we hear a lot about the Amazon. We hear less about the Cerrado biome, which is a savanna-like sort of a territory that continues to be devastated. And, the waters that feed the rainforest, the Amazon rainforest, come from the Cerrado. Cerrado. And this is a territory that's been systematically, subject to violence, its people, its ecosystems, due to a choice of the government and corporations to invest on industrialized intensified farming that has been very damaging. But just to bring us back to the report, we highlight four areas of inequities that need to be brought to debate. One is what I've already mentioned: the persistency of hunger alongside an obesity epidemic, abundance, and food waste. So how can we accept this in the 21st century? There's a second area that we highlight, which relates to inequities in diets and nutrition. And research into malnutrition and undernutrition very often focuses on individual nutrients and overlooks the wider social and economic determinants of those poor diets that are really determined by our education, where we live, where we come from, our upbringing, and so on. So this is important to be discussed. A third area regards territorial inequities. So I've already mentioned Brazil and Brazilian Cerrado, but we can also talk about inequities, for example, in urban spaces. So again, in Brazil, let's think of the favelas of Rio de Janeiro, which are authentic food deserts, and where people really lack access to decent, fresh, affordable food, or even the space to grow their own food, often having to do this on the pavement, and also having to rely on self-help networks amongst people who are, all of them, marginalized. A similar story can be found in wealthier countries, in high-income countries like here in the UK. Here in Brighton, we have similar situations of peripheral neighborhoods really struggling to access fresh, affordable food and being persistently disadvantaged. And just to finalize, a fourth area of inequities relates to food system livelihoods. And by livelihoods, we are talking about issues of production of labor, of livelihoods related to trade, and so on. And very often across food systems, these livelihoods can be very precarious. Let's think of informal vendors in markets, in city markets across Africa, often women without labor rights, without job security, and often facing discrimination. So these are the sort of things that we highlight in the report.
Now, I'm interested in your assessment of new technology and its role in driving inequality. And you seem to frame technologies such as genetic engineering as perhaps false flags that offer much, but which often further embed inequity. Can you tell me why that happens?
Yeah, just to clarify that, the report is not against technological innovations. Not all new technologies drive inequity, so that's important to emphasize. But we should be constantly asking the question of who wins and who loses from these innovations. And it seems to be always the same story, the same winners and the same losers. It's well known that agri-food systems, in these systems, technological innovation is dangerously concentrated. Often agri-food science is obsessed with singular metrics like yields or profits, and gives little attention to other social and economic determinants of farming systems, for example, including other important values and services that, for example, farms produce in terms of, if they are of a certain kind, in terms of promoting agrobiodiversity, in terms of enabling social cohesion, cultural diversity, and so on. So we need to be able to understand this complexity. And often, I think it's important to learn from people, from the experiences of those who are on the ground, and bringing that into dialogue with the agri-science that is produced in labs, in modern shiny labs. And bring into the conversation those other more grounded experiences from the real world, where people are constantly combining, concerns with ills, with ecological management, the social constraints and opportunities that they want to pursue, and so on. So I think this is somewhere an area where there's a lot of improvements need to be made. Let's talk, for example, about the issue of farming sustainability, agricultural sustainability, which is now at the core, at the center of the debate, with new promises about regenerative farming, nature-based solutions, and so on. So this is all very exciting from an environmental point of view. But from a social equity, from a justice perspective, who is really going to win from these novel solutions? It's the same players that seem to be banking on being the sources of new solutions ever and ever again, and teaching farmers how to be farmers. And in that way, just feeding a circle of dependency that, always disadvantages those who are already marginalized. So these are the sort of issues that we're trying to highlight without denying the importance of innovation, technological innovation, and the need for scientists to talk to farmers and learn from them, and not assume that they're passive takers of the knowledge that they generate.
And just finally, what are the key recommendations from the report?
Right, so we're suggesting that we need to bring an equity perspective into food system debates, and bring to the fore the experiences and the knowledges and the needs of those who are systematically marginalized by these systems. And in order to do that, we offer 4 recommendations. We, as I said at the beginning, we suggest that more emphasis is placed on bringing together different actors, particularly government and community level organizations, to talk specifically about targeting food inequities. We also talk about pursuing multiple approaches to tackle these inequities, because we shouldn't be talking about small incremental fixes, but rather systemic change that needs a lot of innovation, experimenting with alternatives, and also alternative perspectives on what technological innovation is about, as we've just discussed. A third area is that we need to pay attention to inequities in distribution of wealth and opportunities, and seeking to favor policies that explicitly put those who are marginalized at the forefront of, as being the targets of those policies. And finally, giving more voice, louder voice, more space to those who are experiencing inequities in the first place and firsthand. And this is why we think it is very important for social movements, those who are at the front line of, seeking to address these inequities and seeing them in their everyday work, charities, social movements around the world, in low-income, middle-income, and high-income country, bringing those voices to the fore, so that we can talk about inequities through the voices of those who experience those firsthand.
That was Lidia Cabral from the Institute of Development Studies. More about this and our other headline news on our website, 8.9.com. That's all for now. We're back on Friday. Thanks for watching.